Hi everyone, Ted Lucidi, Clinical and Technical Specialist for Innovatis Imaging. Today we're going to do a demonstration on how to perform a preventive maintenance inspection on a T-probe. A thorough visual inspection is the first step of a PMI. It's best to begin at the distal tip, work your way down the insertion tube, across the control body, ending at the system connector. Starting at one end and ending at the other will prevent potentially skipping important areas of the probe. The distal tip houses extremely sensitive electronics, similar to those within a flexible endoscope. The distal tip is typically a two-piece clamshell design, but some models consist of up to 4 different components. Traumatic impacts have the potential to break the adhesive bonds between the various sections. Make sure to inspect the distal tip under magnification, examining the seams between each section. Minor scratches and scrapes to the distal tip can be considered normal due to the tip being repeatedly dragged across sharp teeth or being exposed to some minor trauma. Deep gouges, especially those crossing the various seams of the tip components, should be closely examined. Any area that is believed would allow fluid entry should be addressed with a high priority. The acoustic lens covers the acoustic array, which is a highly sensitive component similar to the camera in a flexible endoscope. There are 2 styles of lenses on T-probes which are descriptive of the probe's level of technology. 3D probes, such as the Philips X72T and X82T and the GE6VTD and Siemens Z6M, will have a square or rectangular shaped lens. The lens will have a rubber-like appearance and may be surrounded by a gray or white sealant. Inspect the lens for deep scratches or gouges and examine the seal under magnification for any kind of inconsistencies or lack of fill. The lens on Philips T-probes is coated with a clear coating that will peel away over time and may appear fractured. This would be considered acceptable and could be considered part of normal wear and tear. The peeling or the lack of the clear coat does not affect performance and poses no safety risk. 2D probes, such as the Philips S72 Omni and GE6T family of probes and the Siemens V5M, will have a lens that's round in shape. Some lenses may appear as a clear cellophane covering. Other lenses may be an integral part of the distal tip and may be clear or black in color. Examine the lens for any deep scratches or gouges and even the appearance of an air bubble. The bending rubber is designed to be both flexible and durable. New probes, or those with new bending rubbers, should have a rubber with a very high luster. The luster will fade over time, but its appearance should never appear extremely faded, worn, or pocked. There may be a brown, crusty, or flaky material coating the bending rubber if an enzymatic cleaner is not part of the disinfection process. The bending rubber should appear tight, and on some models you should be able to see some slight definition of the articulation components underneath. Baggy or stretched bending rubbers should be replaced sooner rather than later. Use a magnifying glass to closely examine the bending rubber for the appearance of any tiny pinholes, minor cuts, or abrasions. Inspect the adhesive glue beads on each end of the bending rubber, looking and feeling for evidence of impacts or any sharp edges. Examine the quality of the seals of the adhesive to each of the components, looking for any tiny voids or separations. Any area that is believed would allow fluid entry should be addressed with a high priority. Visually inspect the insertion tube for defects such as cuts, crushes, dents, and deep gouges. Run your hand along the entire length of the tube, feeling for abnormalities. Any area that is believed would allow fluid entry should be addressed with a high priority. Physical damage to the tube may affect internal systems including angulation mechanics and electrical wiring. Flex the insertion tube at multiple locations, inspecting for buckling. Buckles may be large and obvious, or may appear as small wrinkles. It's normal for the luster to fade on an insertion tube as it ages, but the coating should not be peeling. Examine the numbering system for excessive wear or lack of visibility. Again, there may be a brown, crusty, or flaky material coating the insertion tube if an enzymatic cleaner is not part of the disinfection process. The boot or insertion tube strain relief is located where the insertion tube connects to the control body. The snugness of the boot may differ by probe model based on OEM design, but it should not appear flared out or should not have any external damage such as tears or cuts. This area is fluid resistant but not fluid proof. It cannot be submerged as fluid can wick up inside of the boot and flood the internals of the probe. The control body houses mechanical components that controls angulation similar to those in flexible scopes, but adds electromechanical components used for image orientation during patient studies. The housing is a multi-piece collection of plastic or stainless steel sections whose segments are sealed with O-rings. The area is fluid resistant, but not fluid proof. It cannot be submerged or held under running water. Examine the housing looking for dents or cracks. Inspect the switches or rubber switch covers for cracks, tears, or physical damage. Take a look at the angulation control knobs and brake levers for any physical damage. Functional testing of the angulation controls will be performed later. Damages at this location are usually the result of trauma or gross fluid invasion. Strain reliefs are located at either end of the system cable, and they should be very flexible. The strain relief itself may or may not be sealed to the cable sheathing based on the specific OEM design. Inspect each strain relief for any cuts, tears, or any other kind of mechanical damage. The system cable spans the distance between the system connector and the control body. It should not possess any cuts, tears, or heavy abrasions. The cable itself may appear slightly scuffed, slightly stained, or even marked. It's a good idea to run your hand up and down along the entire length, feeling for abnormalities such as flatness, rollover damage, or kinks, anything that could indicate some kind of internal damage. There are multiple styles of system connectors. Some system connectors have a locking knob that is used to secure the connector to the scanner. The knob is attached to a shaft which extends through the connector body. The knob should be firmly attached to the shaft, and it should only rotate between 90 and 120 degrees, and it's model dependent. It should never rotate over 180 degrees or continually rotate. It's common for the paint on the connector housing to become chipped over time, and it is indicative of some level of trauma. More important is to examine the shape of the housing, inspecting for any deformations. Deformation may make the connection to the scanner challenging and may lead to intermittent performance issues. Integral to the system connector is the pin bank, which provides the electrical interface to the ultrasound scanner. Certain probe models will have a large system connector with several hundred male pins. Others may have a smaller, low-profile connector with just 2 modular rows of pins, and even other styles may have a flat, pinless surface. Inspect the pin bank under magnification for pins that may be deformed, bent, or crushed. Inspect for areas of white oxidation or green corrosion, which may indicate that the system connector has been exposed to or even splashed with waters or chemical disinfectants. Next, we'll move on to mechanical inspection to examine the range of motion in each direction of angulation. We'll also inspect the articulation brakes or tensioners. Angulation inspection includes testing for play, tightness of movement, smoothness of bending section movement, and measuring deflection. Something to note that pediatric T-probes may only offer angulation in only two directions, up and down, versus all four, up, down, left, and right. To begin, operate the angulation controls in all directions, feeling for tightness of movement and observing the distal tip for smoothness of movement. Also get a feel for how much the control knob turns in each direction before the distal tip moves. This is the amount of play in each direction. Excessive play in any direction usually results in decreased range of motions and indicates a need for an angulation adjustment. For this next step, you'll need the angulation chart to measure the range of motion in each direction. Initial alignment of the chart to the probe is crucial for an accurate measurement. Place the chart under the distal tip and bending section so that you can see the insertion tube is parallel to the center lines on the chart. Measure the maximum range of motion by angulating the probe completely in one direction, noting the maximum. Compare the center of the distal tip to the angle line most parallel on the chart. Measure within plus or minus 5 degrees. Most T-probes use an angulation brake or tensioner for each knob, left, right, and up and down. It's important to note that not all T-probes have a lock or tension mechanism, and some may only have a tensioner for one knob. The control may be in the form of a singular or multiple levers, a knob, or even mechanical switches. At this point, complete any required paperwork and communicate any findings with a department manager. Results can be classified into one of 4 categories: critical, immediate, preventive, or okay. Critical is used to classify a probe that is not safe for patient use and one that should be removed from service. Example, a break in the integrity of the tip, the bending section, or the insertion tube, or even evidence of fluid invasion. Immediate can be used to describe a probe that is not meeting performance standards, such as not meeting angulation requirements, or a probe having a crushed or damaged insertion tube. Preventive can be used to classify probes that may not perform as well as intended. This may include probes with a worn numbering system, a worn bending rubber, or minor play in angulation. OK is used to classify a probe with no visual or mechanical issues. Any probes with findings deemed a patient safety issue should be addressed with an extremely high priority, and probes requiring service for minor cosmetic issues or minor issues with angulation can be considered a lower priority.